Welcome to the Postgame Show, presented by Ricoh. Chris McPherson, alongside Ike Reese. This is as depressing, as demoralizing a loss that the Eagles have incurred in quite some time. Ahead 17-3 in the third quarter, the Eagles allowed the Tennessee Titans to come back, storm back with 17 unanswered points. The Eagles were able to rebound to get a field goal to send it to overtime. Jake Elliott put the Eagles up by 3 in overtime, so up 20-17, Ike. You figure the Eagles are in prime position. They've been winning these close games all season long, starting with the Thursday night kickoff special against the Falcons, and then last week against the Colts, where it took a Hail Mary at the end to finally put the Colts away. So Eagles up 3 in overtime, and let's just go through the plays real quick. Titans get 4th and 15. Taywan Taylor gets a first down conversion. Mariota faced with a 4th and 4 situation. Sidney Jones commits a pass interference penalty. A 3rd and 19, Mariota scrambles to make it 4th and short, and the Titans thought about going for the field goal to tie it. However, they brought back Mariota on the field, and he dumps off a screen pass to Dion Lewis to get the first down. And, of course, the touchdown pass to Corey Davis, who had explosive plays all throughout the course of the game, to give the Tennessee Titans a 26-23 win in overtime over the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles drop to 2-2 on the season. We're going to hear from head coach Doug Peterson, quarterback Carson Wentz, and we'll have plenty of reaction in the next hour or so. Ike, your initial thoughts on a tough day for Eagles fans, especially when you lean on this defense to come through in big situations like this, especially on the road, and they don't get the job done.
Well, you know, Chris, playing in this league for 9 years, watching this game for a long time, you know, you're going to play in enough of these close ball games that you're going to get your fair amount of wins, but you're also going to take some tough losses. And the Eagles, through 4 weeks this season, have found themselves in these tight games where they've had to come up with big stops late in the game. And to their credit, they've been able to walk away with the W twice. But today they were bitten. And it was just far too many mistakes at the end of the game. You mentioned a lot of the crucial down and distance situations where they're in the Eagles' favor, but for whatever reason, they can't find their way off the field, albeit whether it's a holding penalty or, you know, being where it's 3rd and 19, 4th and 19, and 3rd and 19, Marcus Mariota scrambles for 17 yards and really puts himself in a position to decide to go for it on 4th down. Got to give Mike Vrabel a lot of credit. I know a lot of coaches at home in that situation, you take the field goal, 4th and 2, but in today's game, and you probably got Doug Peterson to thank for this.
I was going to say, I was going to follow up with that.
Yeah.
We're going to go down this road. Yep.
In today's game, coaches are going for it on 4th down. I mean, there are so many rules that are advantageous for offenses that you're almost better off taking a shot at it, especially in a 4th and 2 situation. So the Eagles just couldn't find themselves a way to get off the field late in the game to sort of seal this victory. Way too many mistakes. Defense, once again, sort of Jekyll and Hyde-ish on the road versus being at home. Yep. You know, we talked about explosive plays. You know, this Tennessee Titans offense, this is the best they've looked all season long. I mean,
not even close.
They had 2 touchdowns coming into this game. In 3 games, they had scored 2 touchdowns. So this offense was pedestrian. You're talking about Marcus Mariota with a banged-up hand. They showed early that they were going to throw the ball. So if the Eagles had any inclination that they were going to come in here and focus on stopping the run, the Titans didn't even try to really run the football today. They decided they were going to attack this secondary, and there were big plays to be had all day. Eagles fortunate a couple of times, even on that final drive that they eventually got scored on. The Titans had somebody wide open down the middle.
It was Darius Jennings.
He drops the ball. That should
have been the game.
Yeah.
That right there should have been the ball game. You figure that this young team trying to emerge should have been able to not overcome that. They did.
Yeah.
They were able to.
I mean, and they had several of those plays where they dropped the ball. I mean, Corey Davis, who caught the game-winning touchdown, he had at least 3 drops today that would have resulted in big plays for the Tennessee Titans offense. You just look at this defense of ours, and we got to figure out a way to tighten up our coverage. You know, You can't rely on the pass rush all the time to get there to the quarterback and get sacks. With a guy like Marcus Mariota, who has athleticism, who has the ability to move around, extend plays with his legs, you're going to have your secondary hold up. And through 3 games, or 2 games on the road, I should say, we've been shredded through the secondary. I mean, Marcus Mariota, over 344 yards passing. Are you kidding me? He probably hasn't thrown for that many yards in 2 years. You know, almost 70% completion percentage. Like, it was just too easy for the Titans passing game today.
At one point, all right, Mariota had the interception late in the first half, picked up by Avonte Maggs, led to 3 points for the Eagles. Mariota completed his next 15 passes. Yeah. There was not an incompletion until overtime. The entire second half, Mariota was perfect. And that's why, look, when the Eagles got ahead with that Alshon Jeffery touchdown and took the 17-3 lead, I said this was exactly where the Eagles need to be, because the Titans have not shown that explosive playmaking ability, the ability to come up with those chunk yardage plays in order to come back in a shootout type game. Yeah. I mean, they beat the Jacksonville Jaguars to their credit, but they won by a score of 9-6. Okay, this team has just been finding ways to win. And you figure if the Eagles can get up early, especially on the road, where they have the bugaboo about you go to the Tampa Bay game, you go back to the Super Bowl of last year, the defense has not been the same on the road. So you figure 17-3, they're not going to be able to run the ball. You're putting the ball in Mariota's hands. That's exactly what the Eagles wanted coming into this game. But as you said, Ike, the Titans game planned to say we can't rely on the run. The Eagles have the best run defense in football. We're not going to win with the ground game. Quite honestly, it seemed like every time the Titans offense got into a rhythm, you know, with Deion Lewis, with Tajay Sharp, with Tywan Taylor, all of a sudden they would give the ball to Derrick Henry and they would set themselves back. Yeah. Okay? That seemed like the one bugaboo for the Titans offensively, was every time they gave the ball to Derrick Henry, that's what slowed them down. So they put the ball in the hands of their playmakers, and they were able to come back, take the lead. And again, look, the Eagles found a way to fight back. Okay? DeAndre Carter had the amazing punt return, 41 yards, put themselves in position for the Jake Elliott field goal to send it to overtime. Jay Ajayi, Wendell Smallwood moved the ball methodically in overtime, got the field goal. You figured, okay, the Eagles bounced back. They got the lead in overtime. Again, let's give it to the defense. Let's put it on their shoulders and let them bring home the victory and come back to Philadelphia 3-1. But that was not the case, as again, the Eagles got Mariota in down and distance situations that were advantageous for the Eagles, and they were just not able to seal the deal. It's just going to come down to one play. And this is the type of game where at the end of the year, however the Eagles finish, this is the one they're going to be kicking themselves in, okay? Because the difference between 3-1 at the quarter pole versus 2-2, it's massive. Dallas won today. They rallied to beat the Detroit Lions. Cowboys are 2-2. Yeah. So as much as everyone's making fun of Dallas and the offensive struggles there with Big D, they're 2-2 and right there with the Eagles. So as much as the Eagles have been able to scrape by, they're at that same mark right now. 3-1, 2-2, such a huge difference, and you're just digging yourself a hole to make it much tougher as you get into the meat of the schedule, which is going to be very tough beginning next week with a rested Vikings team their season is questionably on life support at this point. Yeah. Okay? They need to come with the win. So the bottom line there is the Eagles digging themselves a hole and not able to get a win in a very winnable game on the road today against Tennessee. So, Ike, let's go through your 3 takeaways. And I think you kind of touched on one already with the pass defense. Yeah. Just what have you seen differently from when the Eagles are at home as compared to when they're on the road?
Well, obviously, you got the crowd noise behind you when you're playing at home. They're feeding off the energy of Lincoln Financial Field. That sometimes can rattle quarterbacks when you come here. It makes it hard for them to communicate. And the defensive line, they get a chance to pin their ears back. So that's certainly an advantage for the Eagles when they're playing at home. It just seems like when they're playing on the road, we don't play as aggressively from a secondary standpoint.
That's a great way to put it.
We're not necessarily getting up, challenging these wide receivers, fighting them for the football at the point of attack. You know, when the ball is there, 50-50 balls, you got to be able to get the ball out of the wide receiver's hands, and it just doesn't seem like our secondary is very good at doing that, and particularly our corners. And when you look at whether it's Sidney Jones, whether it's Jalen Mills, or whether it's Ron Darby, you know, you're going to be tested. The Eagles' defense is hard to run against. So some teams are coming into the game with the idea of, we're not going to even try to run the ball today, except for when we have to run the ball. We can move the ball easier through the air against this team.
Ike, Tennessee averaged 33 carries
per
game.
Yeah, most in the NFL, yeah.
And said, we're not going to do that. That's their MO.
Yeah.
And maybe you could say Mariota's been injured. They were down their top 3 offensive tackles at one point. But still, the MO of this offense has been run the ball through Henry and Lewis through the first 3 games of the season.
Yeah, they're taking their chances, throwing it up against Jalen Mills and Ron Darby. And we got to take it personal, man. We got to take umbrage to the fact that you're not going to keep targeting me over here. You're not going to keep throwing the ball over here. We need to get some turnovers. You need to get interceptions, things of that nature, to sort of discourage opposing teams' offenses for trying you, because they're so stout up front with Fletcher and Haloti Ngata and Brandon and all those guys. The teams are saying the easier path to moving the football is through the air against this team. As long as we either max protect, give our quarterback enough time to throw it, or we get the ball out of our hands quickly, we're going to be able to move the chains through the air. And the Eagles have to recognize this, and it's not going to get any easier each week. This is a passing league, so teams are going to throw the football against this Eagles secondary. We saw it coming down the stretch last year, and they just need to do better. I mean, they need to do better. The guys that are out there are the guys that are going to be playing. Those are your 3 best corners, so there isn't some sort of magic potion that Jim Schwartz can go to and pluck somebody off the bench that's going to do a better job. He's playing his 3 best corners. And, you know, Avonte Maddox is a young up-and-coming guy who got a chance to get out there today and had a nice interception, had a nice play, but he also got lost in coverage, and his man was wide open on a overthrow that could have ended the game in overtime as well. So, you know, there's some things that are mixed up in the secondary that we got to get fixed.
All right, so we're going to hear from head coach Doug Peterson and quarterback Carson Wentz in just a little bit. First, we're going to bring you, look, we were listening to the Sports Radio 94 WIP broadcast. Merrill and Mike here in the studio in overtime, and they did an outstanding job of capturing the action and making us feel like we were there in Nashville, Tennessee. We're going to bring those sounds to you in our Merrill Cam feature.
On 3rd and 8, Corey Davis in motion. Shotgun. Mariota's back. He steps up. He's being chased. He's being hit. He is at the 42-yard line by Michael Bennett.
Michael Bennett is certainly the first guy there, but they run a blitz this time, and you've got a lot of shirts penetrating that wall of white shirts. They get to Mariota, put him down. They're forcing the punting unit to come onto the field.
It is 3rd and 4. Alshon Jeffery out to the far side of the field. Now he's in the slot. Dallas Goedert in the game. Smallwood to the right of Wentz. Wentz has been pressured all game. He's back. He is looping it down the left sideline, and it is caught up at the 45-yard line, and it is caught by Alshon Jeffery, and there is the big guy and the difference he can make.
Well, and that's what you want to get him in one-on-one situations. He's playing this time against Adoree Jackson, but the ball is placed perfectly over the outside shoulder, and when you get him in those tight situations, he's going to come down with a lot of football.
1st and 10, Eagles up at the 4. Smallwood to the left of Wentz. 3 receivers, slot right. Wentz is back. He's looking. He's looping it downfield. It's caught to the 10, to the 5, and going in for the touchdown is Jordan Matthews.
You can't throw a football any better than that. Gets the protection Carson Wentz does. He's got Jordan Matthews going down the hash area, and he puts it right on the numbers, and he sachets into the end zone for the Eagles' first touchdown of the afternoon.
Let's see if the Eagles can stop the Titans on 1st down. This time, back to throw is Mariota. They stopped him. They've sacked him back at the 15, and it is Derek Barnett.
Welcome home, Derek Barnett.
Eagles up 7-3. Dion Lewis, the single setback. Mariota in the gun. He's back. Eagles with 6 defensive backs. He fires over the middle. Intercepted! Intercepted! And running with the football is Avonte Maddox. He's at the 20. He is still on his feet. And he is finally brought down inside the 20. The rookie from Pitt comes up with a pick. Double tight end. Ajayi stays in to the left of Wentz. 1st and 10. Wentz fakes to Ajayi. Steps up on the run. Complete to Ertz. He's at the 45. He's at the 40. Zach Ertz is having a huge day.
Yes, he is.
Kevin Byard makes the stop.
It almost feels like that day in D.C. when he called like 15 passes. And that's the guy he's found. And he's working the middle of this defense well.
They lead 10-3, and they have a 3rd and goal from the 16. Ertz out to the far side. 3 receivers to the near side. Ajayi to the left of Wentz. 3rd and goal. Wentz back. Wentz looking, steps up, for the end zone, and is it caught? Yes! Touchdown! Alshon Jeffery again.
Listen, this is that guy, when you put the ball in this area, and when his hands gets on the ball, it sticks. He goes up, he really just takes the football away from the defender. You talk about 50-50 ball, that's a 50-50 ball. He's stronger, he's bigger, he takes the football away.
I couldn't tell if the ball had crossed the plane.
That's all right. LaShawn Sims could tell. You know that he was just toasted.
All right, thanks again to Sports Radio 94 WIP for allowing us to bring you Merrill Cam there with Merrill and Mike Quick. So we went through the first of your 3 takeaways, Ike, and that's the explosive plays allowed by the defense. Let's go to the offensive side of the ball and start up front where the line just has not protected as well since the beginning of the season, in my opinion, going back to when Nick Foles was a starter. Today, that protection was an issue once again.
Yeah, offensive line protection was a huge problem for the Eagles today. And like you said, it's been that way for the last couple of weeks. Carson Wentz, since his return, sacked 9 times, 5 last week, 4 more today, hit countless other times under duress. Plenty more opportunities for Tennessee to come in there and sort of rattle Carson a little bit in the pocket. And I can't necessarily put my finger on what the exact issue is because you have all 5 of your guys in there. Everyone's healthy. We're just not doing as good of a job as we've done in years past of protecting the quarterback. And they're too good up front. You're talking about 4 Pro Bowl players, 2 All-Pro players, and a Hall of Fame to be player in Jason Peters. There's no reason that the Eagles' offensive line shouldn't be doing a better job of protecting their quarterbacks. And I don't care how tough Carson is, the more you hit a quarterback, the more rattled he's going to be in the pocket, and the more that he's going to start either getting rid of the ball too soon or holding on to it too long. That's just the effects, the cumulative effect of hitting a quarterback, and that's what defenses want to do. So offensive line need to pick up their play when it comes to pass protecting.
But it's not, excuse me there. It's not just the offensive line; it's the running backs as well.
When you're in pass protection, you're right. It's not just the offensive line who have to block. When you're getting extra rushers in there, and you got either a tight end part of the protection or the running backs are part of the protection, the running backs have to be on the same page with the offensive linemen. And it started last week with the Colts. What teams are going to do is you aren't going to get 4 guys rushing you straight. You're going to get these loopers, these TEs and ET stunts where they're trying to get you to pass defensive lineman off and confuse you. They're trying to get an advantage in a one-on-one matchup. And too often today, Wendell Smallwood was caught back there not blocking someone because he was confused on who to block, and that led a free rusher to come in. So, yeah, when you're talking about pass protection, it isn't just the offensive linemen. It's the running backs that when you are a part of the protection, you must know who to pick up.
What's scary is with these schemes, we saw last week with the Colts, you see it again today with the Titans, and you mentioned those loopers and those delayed blitzes and delayed rushers. That's something I think teams are going to see and say, you know what, this is something the Eagles not been able to handle. And you don't know whether it's the communication, if it's just not knowing the rules and responsibilities on each play. And again, like I just mentioned to you, it's not just the offensive line. It's, that's where I think missing Darren Sproles comes into play in a big way because he's so good in pass protection. But across the board there, I just don't know if those 5 guys, the stars, are just playing as well as they did last season. Maybe it takes a week, you say, after the Colts game, it takes a little bit of time for the team to adjust to blocking for Carson Wentz, but you figure Carson Wentz got his feet back, he's adjusted to playing in the pocket. All right, now he has another week of practice with these offensive linemen. You knew you're going to see these types of blitzes and pressures from the Tennessee Titans today, but the problem is, once again, and actually, we're going to hear from the head coach and see what the issue was himself. Let's send it to Nashville as Coach Peterson addresses the media.
If you could say you gave away, that you had and let go, how do you move on from that? What is the next step here?
Well, it comes down to first of all, you have to, as I said in that locker room, you have to hate this feeling more than you enjoy winning. And it comes out to each guy, starting with myself. And I look at myself in the mirror and make sure that I'm doing everything I can to prepare this football team for each weekend. And effort, obviously, is always there. And we have to look at the film, quite honestly, and it's all fixable. The mistakes we're making are all fixable. Whether it's a coverage element being out of position, or just a holding when we're on the perimeter offensively we can't do. It's just things that we can correct in practice during the week, and that's what we have to do.
Credit to Mariota and the Tennessee offense, obviously, but you all had a 2-score lead, and this road stuff with the defense. Talk about it, but it's still repetitive.
Exactly. It's an area that I've got to look at it this week, and because the way our schedule is set up, we're home away. So we're going to be on the road just as much as we are playing at home. So it's something that we understand. I think where we are as a football team, and nobody's going to feel sorry for us. With the injuries, or there's no excuses. So we don't feel sorry for ourselves. We just got to continue to work and keep getting better.
Doug, the last play of the first half, you ran a running play with I think it was like 11 seconds left on the clock from the 10-yard line. What was the thought process there?
Get the first down, burn the timeout, and then have maybe 8 seconds to start taking shots to the end zone.
Doug, you preach to your guys, about the penalties, and it's something I know that you address with them. How frustrating is it the way you guys have started? It seems like it's in every game, and really feels like you're beating yourselves in those situations. Yeah,
the penalties are racking up, and can't happen. We've got to eliminate those, and it's something we do look at. I look at it here in the next couple of days, and before we get ready for the next opponent, and try to put a finger on it, and just keep coaching the guys. That's all we can do. You just keep coaching them out of it.
It seems like Carson is facing more pressure this year than he has in the past, particularly with blitz. Why is that?
Well, give them credit. That's a pretty good front. We knew that going in. It's a good defense. So I give them a lot of credit. Number one. Number two, again, we'll look at the film. We'll make our corrections. A couple guys got edged a couple times. We got to make sure that our backs, and there's cohesiveness with all that protection. It's not just one guy or two guys. It could be the offensive line, could be the quarterback, could be the coverage, and so we just have to address it. And we pride ourselves in picking up the pressure, picking up the blitz, and we'll get back to that.
Without saying the film yet, what was the issue on the 4th and long in overtime to make it hurt?
It's a situation, again, where we were just a little out of position. And again, credit them. It was a great play. Obviously, 4th and 15. It's a fixable situation, obviously, and we'll get it corrected.
With all the moving parts on the defensive backfield the last couple of weeks and change this week, is it to expect a little bit that there's going to have to be a growing together process for that unit?
I think. A little bit. Yeah. There's going to be. Some communication issues that we got to address. There's going to be moving parts, moving guys around. It's very similar to offensively with the amount of injuries with the running backs and receiver group. There's moving people around and moving parts, and again, it's something that we'll continue to address, continue to work. We don't make excuses for it. Next man up plays, and we coach them up and get them ready.
Getting Alshon back. How big an effect for the offense?
Yeah, he was exciting to watch him play today. He was aggressive. He attacked the football. Kind of a spark for the offense. It was great to see him back and keep him coming.
Was he on the snap count, or sort of just see how the game goes with how much he was able to?
I just wanted to see how the game unfolded with him, how he was with his, because he missed a couple days there. I just wanted to make sure that he was 100%, strong, as the game went. He felt really good as it went.
You talk often about not settling for field goals, but he can score a touchdown, the end of regulation, and then overtime. The drives, they stopped in the red zone there. What was the issue in those two situations?
Well, a couple times, again, we stopped ourselves, whether it was just execution, maybe a penalty, backed us up just a touch, a sack, something negative happened, and it just got us out of our rhythm. It seems like we got down there fine. and they, Tennessee bowed their neck and kept us to 3, much like our defense has done, for the first month of the season, And again, it's, we pride ourselves in the red zone. Obviously, we've been pretty good there, and we just got to continue to work.
Do you feel like a loss like this is less likely to snowball because of what you guys went through last season? Does it have any bearing at all?
Has no bearing. Has no bearing. Those guys in there are sick to their stomachs right now, and they take it. They take this hurts. This stings. Losses like this sting, and it's something that we use as fuel for our emotion and moving forward. It's we try to go 1-0 every week. That's our main objective, and it starts in practice when we come back together on Tuesday.
But I guess what I'm asking is, do you think that your experience last season makes it less likely that this loss will turn into something bad next week or the week after that?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's not going to snowball that way. Yeah.
It's a couple more, please. At a time like this, with teams wavering a little bit, do you put more responsibility, leadership on your shoulders? Say, hey, I got to get us back in the middle of the highway and get it done.
I mean, yeah, a lot of it falls on my shoulders. Preparing this football team during the week, mentally, physically, how we practice, all of that. But the one thing that this team has learned through resiliency and is just the ownership of doing their jobs, do simple better, and just focus on their task and their job, and that's coaches and players. And I tell them all the time, it can be a simple game if you keep it simple. You eliminate turnovers, you eliminate penalties, and just go execute. And that's where we're at.
The jump seems to be a huge problem, and then they weren't so much last year. They're kind of back now. Drop passes. Is there anything that you can attribute that to, or maybe the unsettled nature of the position at the moment?
Just maybe just lack of focus at the time. You could count it to a lot of things, but number one thing is we got to make sure we do catch the football, and we just continue to work.
Okay.
All right. Thanks.
Thanks, Doug.
Carson coming in?
Yes. All right, head coach Doug Peterson addressing the media at Nissan Stadium in Nashville following the Eagles' 26-23 overtime loss to the Titans. The main takeaway from that was everything is very fixable. The goal now is just to rebound and be 1-0 next week, not to allow this to linger or snowball. Because, again, the Eagles are not used to being in this situation where they're coming back from losses like this. You go back to last season, they lost that Week 2 game to the Kansas City Chiefs, steamrolled through opponents on the way to that, I think it was 9 straight wins they had before losing out in Seattle. And then all of a sudden, they're in the pole position for the postseason, losing, of course, that regular season finale, which didn't matter when it came to the standings. So the Eagles 2-2. And Ike, let's get to the third of your takeaways. And Doug touched on it at the end of his press conference, Alshon Jeffery's return. So we've talked about the explosive plays allowed by the defense, the pass protection woes by the offensive line. But the bright spot here for the Eagles is the offense getting back Alshon Jeffery, number 17.
Boy, wasn't it great to see number 17 out there. Alshon Jeffery making his 2018 season debut today, and he did it in a big way. 8 catches off of 9 targets. Got a touchdown in there, over 100 yards receiving. This offense was missing a receiver like Alshon Jeffery, the big play guy that even when he's covered, you can still throw the ball up to him, and he'll be able to go up there and get it in that 50-50 catch radius that he has. So, and in my opinion, you can tell the effect he had on the offensive passing game in general. I mean, I don't know if Mike Vrabel had Zach Ertz on his fantasy football league team or not, because no one covers Zach over the middle of the field all day. And in part, that's because you need to apply extra coverage to Alshon Jeffery on the outside, so that allowed Zach Ertz to do what he was doing in the middle of the field. Even Nelson, who had 12 targets, only caught 5 of them, but the fact that he had 12 targets lets you know that, Carson Wentz is going to spread the football around. Having a big body like Alshon Jeffery back at his disposal is only going to help improve this offensive scoring. This was the best team in the league in the red zone. It hasn't looked that way through 4 games this year. Yeah. They've struggled a little bit. They've scored some touchdowns, but they too often have to settle for field goals down there. And I think as the weeks go on, you're going to see that red zone scoring touchdown percentage go up, because having a big body like Alshon along with Zach Ertz, then you throw in Dallas Goedert, Crowder, it's going to be difficult for teams to defend those guys. Give Tennessee a lot of credit. I believe they were the #1 red zone defense in the league when it comes to passing coming into this game. So they typically don't give up a ton of points, but I thought we had some opportunities. Having Alshon back is only going to increase those.
The big thing with Alshon is the toughness he brings, the swagger he brings to the offense as well, because going to this game, he had the one full practice with the shoulder injury on Wednesday, and then all of a sudden he's on the injury report with an illness, missing Thursday and Friday, and then there were reports of it was going to be a game-time decision because of something that had been going around the building, and they didn't know from a health standpoint how he'd be able to hold up. But he just brings that added dimension. You mentioned the size, the catch radius, the ability in the red zone, the explosive plays, but there's just an attitude that he brings to his offense. And it goes back to when he signed as a free agent last year, and there were all the sayings of how he's going to win the Super Bowl. He probably meant it when he was with the Bears at the time, but still, he followed through on his words and won the Super Bowl here with the Eagles, and then telling the offensive players before the start of this season that the 2018 campaign begins with Atlanta and needs to end in Atlanta, where the site of Super Bowl 53 is. So definitely having that attitude, that playmaking presence back in the offense is going to bode well for the future as the team moves on. Because, again, not all is for loss here. The Eagles are 2-2, and it's the instant emotion from the game is very depressing. It's very upsetting because of you've seen the Eagles pull these games out, and when Doug Peterson said that this is the new norm, you were thinking about long-term winning success. You weren't thinking it was going to be thrilling nail-biters each and every week, but the Eagles have been finding ways to win those games, and you're just not accustomed to them losing in a fashion like this. So the key is going to be, can the Eagles bounce back from a very tough loss on the road against, look, give the Titans credit. This is a team that's leading the AFC South. They handled the Jacksonville Jaguars, who had just come off of beating the New England Patriots, pasted the Patriots basically, in Jacksonville. Came back, the game was in Jacksonville, and the Titans lost their starting quarterback early in Blaine Gabbert. Mariota, who doesn't have full strength in his arm, is able to lead the team just enough to get the victory. And they welcome the Super Bowl champs. You figure coming off an emotional divisional matchup, they might not be up for the game, but no, this was a litmus test for them to showcase that they are one of the better teams and that they are emerging and thriving with Mike Vrabel as the new head coach there. So tip of the cap to the Titans, big win for them. The Eagles, not able to take care of business, not able to get that 8th straight win against an AFC South opponent there, but it was there for the taking for the Eagles. They had the lead in overtime, and you look at the numbers, very similar. Yeah. But as we transition to the turning points of this football game, and there are plenty in this one, even in the overtime itself, just in the second half there, the Eagles had the lead, and the Harold Landry, rookie defensive end out of Boston College, comes off the edge, gets a strip sack on Carson Wentz. Derek Morgan recovers, and that allowed the Titans to climb back into this ball game. So again, the Titans were down 17-3 after Alshon Jeffery's touchdown in the third quarter. However, they were able to fight back and led the game 20-17 before the Eagles tied it up to send it to overtime.
Yeah, and that was a huge turnover. And those are things that you can't afford to have happen when you're on the road. Those are the things that home teams thrive on. And so give the Titans defense a lot of credit. They came up with the big play, and going up against a team like the Eagles, they knew that they were going to need to have a short field from time to time to sort of help their offense out, and they couldn't have come up with a bigger play than that one there to get that sack, forced fumble against Carson Wentz, and you're already in scoring position. That was a huge momentum swing for that Titans team, and they really got the Titans crowd into the game. And here's the thing that I'm guaranteeing the Eagles are starting to find out. You are defending Super Bowl champions. That means you are the big game on every opponent's schedule, especially when you go on the road. You are the big game. You see how Tennessee celebrated after that win? I bet you they celebrated more after that win than they did after beating Jacksonville last week 9-6, because when you knock off the big dog, it validates you as a team.
Certainly.
So beating the Eagles, Tennessee look at themselves like, okay, we are a good football team at 3-1. We just beat the world champ. So the Eagles have to get used to getting everyone's best shot every time you line up on Sunday. And I'll tell you though, I look at this game and I say, I have respect for Tennessee coming into this game. I thought they were a very good defense. The Eagles, at least offensively, are slowly but surely getting better. We ran the football well today, over 100 yards rushing. I thought Jay Ajayi ran the ball hard. Wendell Smallwood, when he had the ball in his hands, he ran the ball hard. So we're starting to get this offense clicking on all cylinders. We just got to get our defense together. Carson, over 300 yards against that Titans secondary. That's pretty impressive to do when you look at Malcolm Butler, Dory Jackson, and the other corner, I think, Logan Ryan out there. That's pretty good. And you got a safety in Beard and Kevin Byard. So throwing for 300 and some yards, that's a good sign for this offense. Having Alshon back in there, that's certainly a good sign. Jay Ajayi, his first game in a couple weeks, over 100 yards rushing for the Russian attack today. So it's good things on offense on the road today.
And you have all your horses.
Yeah.
In the running game.
And we're still, you're still not even at full strength. No Corey Clement, no Darren Sproles.
You can get them back. So for you, Ike, what was your turning point? So for me there, second half, that Derek Morgan fumble recovery after the Harold Landry strip sack for me. You know, what was your turning point?
I think the big play in overtime, Marcus Mariota's scramble on 3rd and 19. I mean, you get that big sack on Marcus Mariota, and you're thinking, okay, they're out of field goal range as well. And to allow him to run for 17 yards and really put his team in a position to decide to go for it on 4th down, I thought they went from winning the ball game there or a desperation Hail Mary pass at the end there to basically giving Tennessee whichever they wanted, whether they wanted to kick the field goal and play for a tie, which would have given the Eagles the ball back and a chance to win. Mike Vrabel, in the new Doug Peterson era, decides to go for it on 4th down. They pick up the 4th down. Next thing you know, a couple plays later, game is over. So 3rd and 19, that's what you want. Every defense wants that. Every defensive coordinator wants that. And to have the quarterback scramble for 17 yards, I mean, he really was their best runner today. Marcus Mariota was. The other guys didn't do anything out of the backfield, and I thought that was the turning point right there.
You knew you had to count for him coming into this game.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing, because you talk about, you know, Derrick Henry and Deion Lewis, but Mariota is very much a huge part of that as well. And, you know, the Eagles with that upfield, aggressive style, attacking defensive line, they knew they had to be disciplined in their gaps, but even then at times the play will break down and Mariota will have room to run. Yeah. And he was able to take advantage on a few opportunities. But again, you look in that overtime, 4th and 15 situation, Taylor Taylor makes a catch. Yeah. 4th and 4, Sidney Jones has the pass interference. You mentioned the 3rd and 19, which at first the Titans actually sent out Ryan Suckup, their kicker.
Yeah, they were going to kick it.
Yeah. Figure at least tie it.
They thought about it.
No, then they're like, wait a second. It's close enough here that if we're going to do this, let's do this right. And, you know, getting back to your point about the Titans validating themselves from this win, and it's going to be a weird feeling for Eagles fans because we're not going to care about the AFC South. Right. We're not going to care about these out-conference matchups really down the line. But the Titans, you know, have to feel good because they are 3-1, and they've beaten 2 of the Final 4 teams from last season. Yeah. Okay? So
it ain't pretty.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter.
And that's the thing. You know, if at this point, you know, we were looking, you know, straight in the eye of a 2-1-1 record, and certainly you wouldn't want the tie, but you know, that's helped the Eagles in the past.
It's better than a loss, yeah.
It's better than a loss, and you go back to that 2008 campaign, which ended with a run to the NFC Championship game in Arizona. They got the tie that year. That helped them get in the playoffs.
And with the way the league is going this year, it's already been several ties. So I can only imagine towards the end of the year that half a game is going to help or hurt someone.
It's going to make a difference.
To get in the playoffs, yeah.
It's going to make a difference. But again, you know, when it comes to the standing, it's still early. But at the quarter turn, you're hoping that if you came out of that 3-1, that kind of was for me the goal. Okay, obviously you want to be 4-0. You'd want them to win them all. But if they could have been 3-1 coming out of that, you would have felt really good about it. All right, we're going to send it back down to Nashville. Carson Wentz set to address the media.
3 play there in overtime for the field goal. I guess you kind of ended up throwing it away.
Yeah, they covered us. They had us covered, and a little miscommunication there as well. And I just try to throw it away and keep our field goal position and take the field goal.
Carson, you guys, a lot of you guys talked about even having Alshon Jeffery back. It's a spark, but things are going to take time to develop. Looked like in the second half you were kind of getting going, but to not be able to finish and pull it out, how frustrating is that when you guys are so close?
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating to obviously come up short, especially as an offense when we had chances. You know, we had chances to finish in the end zone, you know, at the end of the game, finish in the end zone in overtime. We just didn't execute in the red zone the way we wanted to, and you know, you could look at all sorts of plays from the game, and at the end of the day, we just didn't finish as an offense and as a team either.
Four games where the offense had to really put it all together for 60 minutes.
What do you think it is that's holding you guys back?
You know, we'll have to watch the tape, especially this week. But I think overall, I think we're hurting ourselves too much. You know, I think it's something little here or there, and those little things kind of add up. You know, whether that's a penalty, whether that's miscommunication, misassignments. You know, obviously we're making physical mistakes too out there. But at the end of the day, I'm not too worried. It's a frustrating one, but it's one we can learn from and bounce back from.
You don't feel like you're getting hit just way too much right now?
It's part of the game. It's part of the game. I'll watch the film and see. You know, obviously there's times I hold on to the ball too long. There's miscommunications and protections that we can get called right. And at the end of the day, we got to watch the film and regroup on that.
Did they blitz more than you expected?
I wouldn't say more than we expected. You know, it seems like we get blitzed quite a bit as an offense, and that's kind of in their DNA. They like to mix it up quite a bit, and I thought that's what they did tonight.
The third down play at the end of the first half, but was that something that was kind of back into when you ran instead of throwing it there?
No, that was a play call.
Carson, what do you say to Nelson? Obviously, he had a tough game. What do you say to him to kind of get him through a game like this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too worried about him. You know, he's a guy that we rely on, that we trust, that I trust. You know, I don't lose confidence. Guys make mistakes. You know, I miss throws. Guys drop balls. O-line miss blocks. You know, it's part of the game, and obviously it's something that we got to clean up for all of us. But I'm not worried about it.
What was Doug's message when he addressed you guys after the game?
Yeah, we just got to regroup. We got to regroup. Obviously, we're a quarter of the way through, sitting at 2-2. Not quite where we want to be, but you know we got a long way to go yet. So we just got to keep staying together. And there's a lot of things we got to clean up. You know, I think we're right there. We just got to clean up some things and finish up some drives as an offense, especially.
Well, some of the plays that Alshon made, you know, the over-the-shoulder catch, a touchdown. I mean, you know, you guys hadn't really had much of that. I mean, how good was that to have?
I mean, it's great. I mean, it's great to have Alshon back out there. You know, a guy that can make contested catches, can make plays for you, give the offense a spark. You saw that out there today. We still just came up short, though.
What was the chess match like, kind of identifying the red protection for like their center play?
Yeah, I mean, they do a good job. You know, hats off to them. You know, we study all week, try and watch the film, and then come in here and they mix it up a little bit more, do something new. That's kind of how it goes every week. So, you know, hats off to them on doing some things really well, and we got to be better.
Are there things that you can do to kind of, you know, shore up on that as far as when you do see things that you're not expecting to change up your schemes?
Yeah, I mean, we got to watch the tape. Honestly, I'm not 100% sure where some of the breakdowns were or what all happened, so we got to watch the tape.
On the third down play, again at the fourth quarter, you seemed pretty peeved there. The pass to the corner to Jordan. What was going through your mind after that completion?
Yeah, I was just frustrated. You know, I wanted to win the game. You know, I didn't want to settle for a field goal. I didn't want to settle for overtime. I was just frustrated that we came up short.
A lot of the third downs were long, Carson. I mean, how big a problem was that?
Yeah, I mean, that's tough. You know, those are things that kind of add up, whether it's penalties, whether it's the negative plays. You know, they did some good things to kind of, you know, on some of the nakeds and stuff, they blitzed right into it, kind of just had some good play calls on, and we just got to stay ahead of the chains. We can't keep putting ourselves in those situations. It's hard to convert in those downs.
Okay, thanks, you guys. We talked a lot during the offseason about just how you guys are going to have a bullseye on your back last year and get everybody's best. Do you think we've kind of seen that? I mean, nothing's come easy yet, and is that the way this year's going to be?
I mean, yeah, we fully expect that. You know, and at the same time, this is NFL. Anyone can beat anyone any week, and we got to bring it every week. And we can't just keep having these simple mistakes that we sometimes, you know, you just want to sweep under the rug. But those little things can kind of creep up and bite you, and I think that's what happened today. Thanks, guys. All
right, quarterback Carson Wentz addressing the media and just expressing his disappointment about not getting the job done. And I believe it was Ruben Frank who asked a question at the end of the press conference. And Ike, this is what you've been harping on. The Eagles are going to get the best from teams each and every week because they have that Super Bowl championship label attached to them. And we saw that once again here today with the way that the Titans were celebrating. It was just so tough listening to the broadcast because basically we would hear the play, you know, the radio feed right before you would see it during the Fox telecast, and you could just hear the crowd react when Corey Davis scored the touchdown, knowing that Tennessee got the win in overtime.
Yeah, a tough loss. Obviously, you know, these guys, they fought, and these are the type of losses that you ride back on that plane, man, you can't let it go. You can't let it go, especially when you know you had a 17-3 lead. You're up on this team. It seems like you got everything rolling. You come out in the second half, you get a touchdown. You seem like you got everything clicking on all cylinders. And I know the defense in particular, those guys, they pride themselves on being able to stand up and do their part. And so to allow Tennessee to score 20 unanswered points and then the big, third and fourth down conversions, those are the ones that when you get on that bus to head to the airport, you get on that plane to come back here to Philly tonight, they'll still be thinking about it. They'll be thinking about the first thing when they wake up in the morning, because these games, the old cliche, you only get 16 of them, right? And so you want to make sure every time you get an opportunity to play, you leave everything out there on the field. You do your best, and, sometimes you got to tip your cap to the opposing team. Now, today is a little bit of half and half. You can tip your cap to Tennessee because they earned the victory. They made the big plays when they needed to. But as a defense, you're saying to yourself, we had them where we wanted them at. They were one-dimensional. That's how we like to play against teams, making them one-dimensional. And to give up those big conversions, those explosive plays, I know those are the type of plays that they just eat at you defensively.
What was eating at me was seeing Mike Vrabel on the sidelines, going back to Super Bowl 39 against the Patriots.
Oh, no, you don't bring that up.
But it's what crossed my mind.
I'm going to have nightmares.
It's what it made me think of. He scored the touchdown in that game. Okay, Patriots beat the Eagles. It's like he's personally got the Eagles number for whatever reason. So from one head coach to the other.
Javon Curse, we worked on that play all week, man. You knew that play was coming.
I'm sorry. So now you're going to be on your car ride home thinking about the woulda, coulda, shouldas in that one. So from one head coach perspective to the other, let's go to our interview. The legendary Mike Quick, he was in the booth. Now he's outside the locker room speaking one-on-one with head coach Doug Peterson.
Coach, first of all, let's talk about the issues you're having with protections. Carson sacked 5 times last week, 4 today. What's happening with that?
I really think you can attribute it to about 3 different things. It could be the offensive line just getting beat.
Yep.
It could be the defense, obviously, with their rush lanes and maybe the coverage on the back end. And sometimes we put a sack on the quarterback. And we know as active as Carson can be, a lot of times, with him scrambling and getting out of the pocket, sometimes he goes down. And, it's just things that we've got to continue to address. We continue to work. We pride ourselves in picking up whether it's a blitz or a game up front, and try to get better.
What's most disappointing to you about this loss? Hard fought and certainly no lack of effort.
It's never the lack of effort. Probably the biggest thing is how we kind of let them back into this football game. We had an opportunity to really, I think, kind of put them away there in the third quarter when the offense went down and scored, and we kind of felt the tides changed just a little bit and had a chance to, I think, just kind of almost win the game at that point. And we let them back in it with a touchdown drive, and then I think they scored their 3 last possessions there in the second half, and we were fortunate to tie it up and go to overtime. But, that's kind of the thing that's kind of glaring right now, and we just got to go back to work on Tuesday and get ready for the next one.
You started the game with the vertical passing game. Deep shot took to Nelson down the field. Was it something that you saw in your preparation that led to that?
Well, it was 2 things. One, it was something that I'd seen and we had seen as a staff, and kind of based on formation and how they were going to come out and play it. And then 2, it's just my mindset going into this football game, staying aggressive in the passing game. I honestly, Quick, I felt like, the first couple of games, maybe because of our injury situation or whatever it was, just maybe not feeling myself just a little bit, and I really wanted to give the offense an opportunity, and a lot of that's on me as a play caller. So I take responsibility on that, and so therefore, this game for me was about I wanted to attack a little deeper down the field and take shots, and we had opportunities with Nelson. We had opportunities. I think Alshon played extremely well down the field. The tight ends played well, so it was good to see.
You mentioned Alshon. How important is he to this offense? What difference did he make today for this offense?
Well, you saw it. You saw the big physical receiver out there, and that was really good to see. The touchdown catch was a thing of beauty. A couple just hitch routes, slant routes. I mean, just putting the ball on a big frame target like that, and then his catch after or run after catch. It was a shot in the arm for the offense, and it was great to see him out there.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck next week.
Thanks, Quick.
Great interview, as always, there from Mike Quick and head coach Doug Peterson. What's interesting about doing this show, Ike, is the emotion is so raw and real. because it's literally we hear and see that game-winning touchdown catch by Corey Davis, and it's like, all right, we're on.
Yeah.
So it's like you don't even have a chance to soak. We don't get that 12-minute rest period that the players get before they have to talk to the media. So as you start hearing interviews, hearing what you're saying, you have a time to start thinking through things. And the one small silver lining I'll take out of this right now is the Eagles are 2-2. The 2 losses, though, okay, one is an out-of-conference foe, okay, to Tennessee. It's not going to impact you in NFC standings. The other loss is to Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, I think, Fitzmagic is over. The wheels fell off. Yeah. Okay, we all expected that to happen at some point, but it looks like it's finally happened. Jameis Winston went back in today, so who knows what the long-term prognosis is for the Buccaneers, but it doesn't look like that they're going to be able to sustain the high rate of play that they had those first couple weeks of the season. So when you're looking at potential tiebreakers, at least the 2 losses at this point don't appear to be with teams that's going to impact you from that regard. So
yeah. Yeah, and listen, the conference loss, you always know the conference record comes into play. So
it does.
It comes into play. But, 2-2, certainly would love to be 4-0 or 3-1, but 2-2 will, you lick your wounds, get back to the drawing board, and get ready for an even desperate Minnesota Vikings team coming in here next Sunday. So it's the NFL, man. It's not college football. You don't get to play Appalachian State, once a week, although they beat some pretty good ball clubs themselves.
Of all the teams, yeah.
But in the NFL, you got to come ready to play every week. And so they'll watch the film on this. You keep some of the good, throw away some of the bad. Better come back ready to play against the Vikings next Sunday.
All right, we've got a whole lot more coming up here on the Postgame Show presented by Ricoh, including all 22 film breakdown courtesy of Fran Duffy and Greg Cosell. And we also have the Toyota Player of the Week nominees. However, if you are watching us on Facebook or Twitter, you need to come on over to PhiladelphiaEagles.com or the app to watch the rest of the show. We'll give you a couple minutes to get yourself situated.